Pamela Savino, live authentically.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, I have Pamela Savino. Live Authentically is the name of her company, and this is going to be an interview that, I know you guys love to hear about the business side of things, and we will get into that, but we also, have to tap into the mental health and wellness because it does not make sense to gain the world and lose your soul, go crazy, start yelling at your kids because you got more money than you know what to do with it. So, Pam, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
All is well. All is well. I've read your bio. You have really gone through like life's ups and downs from, not just divorce, not just, miscarriages, but helping others come out of similar situations and dealing with any shame or humility. And I say that just so easily, folks. I just read The Power of Vulnerability by Brene Brown. And I'm like, man, the things you can learn. But
Yeah.
I have to ask, because it's such a fresh topic and you've hit on it, your publicist, your great publicist, has stated you can talk about the Meghan Markle and how you were offended by the shame, and now everyone's, it's trending again as we speak. How have you, got out of shame and dealing with, loss in your own life? And what do you think about the situation now with, Prince Harry and Meghan?
Yeah, so great question. So, I navigate my world through energy, through vibration. So I believe that every state of being, every emotion has an associated vibration. And the name of the game really is to operate from your highest self. So that means choosing high vibrations in every single moment. So shame, for example, is a low vibration. So my goal is always, I run myself through the filter, everything that I do through the filter of how can this move me forward? How can I make a different choice in this moment? And how do we do that? By reframing our life experiences, by learning that all of our life experiences are meant to move us forward. They give us the opportunity to grow and transform. So I'm constantly asking myself, how can I move out of this low vibration and transmute that into a higher vibrational energy? So, realizing that, vulnerability is the place to get there. You asked about, the current situation. And, I think there is tremendous power in putting our story out there. Vulnerability paves the way for growth and transformation. We can't possibly connect to our higher selves and operate from our highest good unless we are raw and real, and we show up and we put it all out there, and not be afraid of it, because that's what makes us who we are. That's what makes us unique. And that's how we do our work. That's how we connect to our highest self, by doing that work, putting it out there and not being ashamed of it, saying, you know what, this is part of who I am. And I'm proud of it. And I'm going to embrace, that's what authenticity is, embracing the light and the dark, and not feeling like we have to keep our walls up or put on this facade or cast this image to the world so that we look like we have this picture perfect life. Like, that's bullshit, quite honestly. I mean, the magic happens is when we embrace all aspects of who we are, put ourselves out there, and then we pave the way for others to do the same.
And how do we, walk that line? Because my Irish twin lives down the street and he has no shame at all. I'm talking about former president. And people love that about him, that he is, 100% himself. Some people hate it, some people love it, but there are certain people, and I accuse my wife of being like this, and she accused me of being the same way. But I said that's why he's my Irish twin, and I'm not a supporter of any politicians personally, but some people don't care and they just live their life, and people call them, oh, you're a sociopath because you are just, you're you, and they call you all type of wicked names. So is there like an in-between healthy balance?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we have to stop and ask ourselves, what is the energy behind my actions? What is the intent here? Am I coming from a place of love? Am I coming from a place of service? Am I putting compassion and kindness out in the world? And really anchoring on the energies. And I do think, again, we have to ask, ourselves, are we hurting others, right? Are our actions hurting others? What are we putting out there? And as long as our energies are pure and we're coming from a good place, the reality is that we aren't going to be for everyone. Our energy isn't going to resonate with everyone. And that's okay. Really what's happening, a lot of times we take it personally, but what's happening, there are vibrational underpinnings. There's an energetic undercurrent behind this, and everything, like attracts like. So we find like vibrations and we resonate with different people. And, I always say that there's 7.6 billion people in the world. We're going to find our matches. We're going to find our tribe, right? There's no shortage of people. So I think the magic starts to happen when we flow with with the direction life is taking us. Allow, whoever comes into our life to come, and allow the healthy disconnections to happen, allow people to kind of fall out of our life at the appropriate time, and realize that, again, it's not personal, it's vibrational. But again, really anchoring on the energies. As long as we're putting goodness out in the world, it's okay to deal with those vibrational misalignments.
And what if you're one of those people? There's some people, I sometimes think I'm one of them, as long as you aren't a blatant liar that
Mhm.
can deal with, a lot of people. I deal with politicians sometimes, and I don't care what side you're on. I want what I want. So if I'm getting what I want, I don't really care about what's your personal views and what you said on CNN, because personally I've written some of the speeches and I think it's all BS. It's usually somebody else's words. So
Mhm.
is there, I don't see myself as being fake. I'll tell you exactly what I think, and if you can take it or leave it, and that's
Yeah.
okay. Life will go on. But should we, when we talk about tribes, I think about Seth Godin's book, Tribes. Your tribe will find you. And should we be able to deal with everybody, because we are just human and we all kind of want the same things? We want to take care of our
Right.
families. We want to be,
Yeah.
satisfied physically and emotionally. Or should we just, kind of be on one side, pick a side? You be here on A, I'm on B, and should there be no in between?
No, I actually definitely think there should be an in between. I think that's where a lot of the growth happens, is when we're able to step outside of ourselves and try to see a situation through someone else's perspective. So that's about stepping into compassion and stepping into empathy and really expanding our mind and opening up our minds to different perspectives. I also think at the same time that we need to honor our own personal boundaries. And not extend too much compassion, and to a point where we allow ourselves to be kind of trampled over. We have to have those healthy boundaries, and we have to be comfortable with communicating them and being really, really clear on what works for us and what doesn't, and articulating that. Again, there's magic in the communication, letting other people know, because again, sometimes I think we assume, right? We assume that others know how their behaviors or actions made us feel. And you mentioned the word sociopath earlier, and there's lots of different psychological profiles, different situations. And I always say I believe that everyone is doing their best. I give everyone the benefit of the doubt to a certain extent, and I say, everyone is doing their best from their respective level of consciousness. And that may not be what I choose in that moment. That may be not be what I say or what I do, but they are doing their best from their respective level of consciousness, through their life experiences, etc. So I think it's important to give people the benefit of the doubt initially, but then watch for patterns and behaviors. And if certain patterns are perpetuating and we feel like our integrity is being compromised, then it's time to say, you know what, time out. This isn't congruent with who I am. This is not authentic to who I am. This doesn't feel right. Getting in touch with our feelings, our emotions, is one of the best things that we can do for ourselves. Our intuition always gives us the answers. So if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. So really tapping into that and connecting to our higher selves, and then making the decisions that we need to make to stay aligned with who we are.
And this advice that you guys are hearing, I can tell you it has to work, because she has great reviews on Amazon. Check it out, especially for you Prime members. Everything. It's almost like a perfect review, which is almost, it's impossible, to get that nowadays, because somebody, you could be doing all the best work and someone say, I loved everything that you did except. And so that that this has been well reviewed by your fellow peers, folks. And you can catch it on Amazon, Audible, excuse me. She has the Audible book. For those of you who refuse to read, you can listen and turn off whatever Housewives you watch any other time. Now, when writing this book, how long did it take you to write this book?
It took me about 2 months to write the book. 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah. I always kind of toyed with the idea of writing a book. It was on my someday list. And I just started receiving messages from the universe to go big. I felt like I wanted to disseminate my message far and wide. And I sat down, I committed to it. And I mean, a lot of it is channeled, to be honest. Like as I go back and look and read certain sections, it's like I almost in some ways don't even remember writing it because it truly felt divine. I mean, the words were just flowing, and I don't want to say that it's easy because it wasn't. I mean, there were parts of it that were really challenging. And I deal with the same ego-based emotions or states of being that everybody else does. The doubt would creep in, do I really know what I'm talking about here? And then those are beautiful moments because that's where I experienced tremendous growth. That's where I was able to dig really deep and say, yeah, you know what? I've coached myself and say, you know what? Yeah, you do know what you're talking about. And yeah, you need to step into your vulnerability here. You need to put it out there. You need to show everyone how raw and real that moment was and how you were at rock bottom. You need to show that because did I toy with maybe I need to kind of soften this a little bit or not put myself out there? I was like, you know what? Forget that. I'm not doing anyone any service by holding back. So if I'm going to ask my clients, ask others to step into their vulnerability, I need to do it first. So that was my way of just putting myself out there and saying, world, this is me. This is my story.
And you did something that I preach probably every week, teach. You had your company publish this book. And my audience, they've heard me say it to folks who haven't. This is why you have to have your company publish your book. But just so I don't feel like I'm just, a cuckoo clock always going off, why did you decide to have your company do it? Because it's not self-published, folks. Her company published it. So what was your why for that?
Well, actually, though, it is. I'm wondering. So I did actually publish it. It's self-published. We put it on Amazon. So I didn't work with, I didn't work with a publisher on that. So just to clarify, so I decided, and unless I'm not understanding the question, I'm sorry.
Well, no, if your company like self-publishes, I'm Henry Jackson or whoever, and
Okay.
I publish it on Amazon, and people say that's a self-published book. When you
Okay.
have your company do it, you are like, I have a publishing company, just for when we want to put out a book.
Okay.
And that's what you did. And what that does, that puts you like for libraries, don't buy self-published books unless you're in their library club. But since your company did it, and if you go through Baker and Taylor, or if you go through, the other big company, Ingram Sparks, libraries can buy your book. And the librarians don't, put their nose up and say, you're not self-published. Oh, a company did it. Because they don't know who Live Authentically is necessarily. It's a company, not
Yeah.
you.
Okay. And see, this is part of where I'm learning. To be honest, I don't well know the landscape of, of how all of that is structured. And so, I worked with my business manager and his team. I had a whole team of people kind of helping me with the editing and everything and putting it out there. So I have broader visions for this. I didn't want this just to be like a one-off book. I mean, my goal here is broad. I see my purpose on this earth as playing a role in raising collective consciousness. And so the book is just one of many modalities that I'm using to do this. So that's just one of the many tools in my toolkit that I like to share with people. So I have, broad visions of not just being an author, but, being a coach. I'm doing executive coaching. And ultimately, I want to work with world leaders. I want to work with powerful world leaders to infuse authenticity throughout our entire culture, throughout our entire world.
And for those of you, I hope you caught that, the executive coaching, because some of you will say, okay, I'll go get the book, I'll listen to it, but Kellen, I need more than just a book. Oh, on her website, links will be in the description box. She has some packages for every reasonable budget. Like if you have a budget out there and you say, I need someone to, really hold my hand, you can really spend a good amount of money. And so with those packages, how much hold handing do you need? Because do you ever get to the point where somebody almost wants you to be like their spouse almost, or their best girlfriend, and they say, what is it going to cost to call you every day? Do you ever get, any of those?
Yes, I have different, every situation is unique. So every person needs a different level of support. I do have a couple of packages that I offer. One is more of a high touch or kind of high support level, high support package. And that's where, you can have daily contact with me Monday through Friday. Obviously, there are some, reasonable boundaries around that. So weekly sessions, and then, emails in between. You can add a couple phone calls. So some people are looking for that. They're looking to really hit it hard right out of the gate. They want to kickstart their spiritual growth and transformation. And then I have a more basic package, which is more of a maintenance plan. It's more of, after we've done this for a while and you're sort of got your groove and you can sort of start to coach yourself. Then we go to more of a maintenance package. But I do charge, I work with people sometimes by the hour, and they kind of hire me for one-off sessions. But I really do believe that consistency is such a big piece of this. And I'm happy to walk alongside people. It's quite an honor to guide people and walk alongside them. But I am very candid in the very beginning. I said, you're going to get out of this what you put into it. So, I can't work any magic in anybody's life. I'm simply an awakener. I'm there to ask you the really tough questions. I'm there to coax you into really, difficult territory and help you to have these expansive conversations and take your mind to places it hasn't gone before. But really the work, the heavy lifting is really lies on the individual to do the heavy lifting, to get curious, be willing to do the work, and realizing that the same patterns and behaviors, et cetera, that got you to where you are aren't going to be the ones to get you to where you want to go. So it's really redesigning a lifestyle is how I describe what I do. So I help people redesign their lives and help them make choices that keep them in that mindset of investing in themselves every single day. I always say the best investment you'll make in yourself is the best investment you'll make is the investment in yourself. And in fact, I was listening to an interview with Warren Buffett last week, and he said those exact words. And I was like, oh, he must have heard that from me. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But it is so true, because you know what, in all seriousness, that is something no one can ever take away from you. You invest in your mind, your body, and your spirit. That is something that isn't fleeting. That is not something that's going to evaporate. That's not something that anybody can take away. You're always going to have that. And the reality is that the value comes from within. So the world responds to you based on the way you feel about yourself, based on the relationship that you have with yourself. So that work really needs to be done from the inside out.
And I know somebody may be listening right now and say, well, I hear you say she was like therapist and has this PhD or MD. Not that you need that, but I think some folks are so used to having letters behind. And I say, what are those letters if the person themselves are going through hell? I've worked in mental health, and I know some of the counselors have their own issues after they leave, and you're like, how can you be such a hypocrite? Not that any of us have it right, but tell the folks, like, what made you have the confidence to even say, I can help you, and with the experience? Because pieces of paper are just pieces of paper, and sometimes you just have a God-given gift to be able to pour into other people.
Yeah, that's such a great question. I'm so glad you asked that. Well, one of my personal beliefs is that life is our best teacher. Life experiences are the best teacher that we could ever have. And I think that can supersede what we can learn in textbooks. I think it should be fortified, should be backed with knowledge. I mean, I'm constantly learning and growing and reading and expanding my knowledge base. But I do believe that my life experiences, even the challenging ones, have been bestowed on me to help launch me into this role as healer. So I've done a lot of work connecting to myself, doing some deep soul searching, really asking the universe, what is my purpose? What am I here for? And leaning into that and trusting. And did I have thoughts of doubt along the way? Like, oh yeah, I'm not this organizational, expert, blah, blah, blah. I don't have a PhD in psychology. But you know what, to be honest, to do what I do, I don't need it. I mean, I am a certified life coach. I did go get, certified as a life coach because I wanted to establish the credibility. I wanted to show the commitment. But, and just to clarify, I'm not a therapist, so I don't diagnose or treat mental health conditions. But I do believe that, we live in a society where we're quick to label, and we're quick to have a reactive approach to things. I believe that a lot of the issues that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, dealing with fear, anxiety, stress, etc., can be handled through vibration, through energy, by looking at the world around us through different lenses, by learning how we are so powerful. We're more powerful than we ever realized. And if we tap into that and ask ourselves in every single moment, how do I feel? What do I need? How can I fill myself up spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally? The stress and the anxiety starts to kind of dissipate and fade, and we start to experience that organicness and that ease and that flow that we're meant to experience in this human existence.
And a lot of folks, they have heard you talk about energy. I know, you grew up in the church, whatnot.
Yes.
So sometimes people, say again, pink sides. Hey, I believe in the universe and the energy and vibrations. I can't find that in any of the scriptures, at least for their interpretation, especially mainstream, Christians. So
Mhm.
can you talk about how you've been able to pair the two, or did you say, you know what, I'm going to actually leave this behind because this is making more sense to me, and how you navigate that? Because many pastors have an issue dealing with those things.
Sure. And that was something that I sort of grappled with. That was part of my journey, was really going deep and asking myself, what is my belief system? What do I believe? So I grew up in a Catholic household. I went to a Catholic school, went to church every Sunday. And I'm forever grateful for that faith-based education, that faith-based foundation, because quite frankly, I have no idea how I would have navigated some of my life experiences and come out on the other side the way that I did without the background of faith. I really reached a point when I was 31 is when I hit rock bottom, because I lost a baby unexpectedly in the third trimester. So I literally went from the heights of joy to the depths of despair in literally the blink of an eye. I mean, one day excitedly picking out baby names, and a couple days from then sitting in a family room full of sympathy flowers. So my heart was reeling. I was deflated across the board. And quite honestly, I was left in a position where I was questioning my faith. I mean, I was sitting there having some really deep conversations with myself at 3 o'clock in the morning, sitting there in a sea of tears, just wondering how I'm ever going to move forward. I was angry. I was questioning God. What God, who supposedly, loves me so much, would bestow this, agonizing pain on me? So, I mean, my heart was reeling. And so that's really when my soul journey started. Of course, my thoughts were whirling. I was steeped in emotion. I was carrying this heavy burden of grief and loss. And that's really when my soul work started, this inward journey. And that was the juncture at which I started to go down the spiritual path. And I'll never leave my faith behind. I mean, that's Catholicism, Christianity. That's a big piece of who I am and where I came from. So I believe that is interwoven in my soul. That's enmeshed in every fiber of my being. And I wouldn't want to leave it behind, because it's such a big piece of who I am and what delivered me to where I am. But spirituality, I view that, or describe that, is as a process whereby we craft our own belief system based on our own life experiences. So religion is where we adopt other beliefs and dogma and traditions and rituals based on other people's life experiences, based on stories that have been passed down. But I said, you know what, to be honest, like I wasn't there. I wasn't there, hundreds, thousands of years ago to witness what happened. What I was here for, though, was my life experiences. So that began the process of me crafting my own belief system based on my own life experiences. So I did a lot of work in my 30s crafting that, continued to build on that to get me to where I am today.
Awesome. And, a lot of religion has driven some people mad and crazy. And a lot of it is not in the book. A lot of folks are doing rituals that are actually against the book. So I'm glad that you were able to, articulate that. Many people struggle with that, as I aforementioned. Now, with the success that you have had, and that the success that you're going to have, because the best is yet to come, what is a community give back that you're doing or that you plan to do in the
Yeah,
future?
that's such a great question. Philanthropy is absolutely the direction I want to move. I have, plans of starting a foundation someday. But in the short term, I'm serving every single day. So I serve by, by helping my clients every single day. And I'm also available to my social media communities. I do calls, I invite people on calls, help them navigate situations. So really it's daily contact with people and just understanding their issues and helping them to understand that, no matter what situation they're in, there's always a way out. There's always a way through. So I'm super excited to start getting out there more and have big plans in the way of philanthropy.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I want to see what the outside world looks like after all this is done. See, I hear there's some there's some big building going on, but no, I thank you, Pamela, for coming on and sharing that with us. You guys, I love to take the conversation offline, but after this interview, you can go check the links in the description box, whether you are listening or you are watching. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share, and do all that good stuff. Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you.